Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when we release a new video. And yeah, oh my gosh, welcome everybody. And oh my god, this last episode was good. This actually was really good. It's called No Hablo Brujelia, which I thought was pretty fun. But no, I actually really dug this latest episode, and I'm gonna give like a short recap like I normally do and start digging in. They did some really fun things in this episode, and they also did some strange things in this episode. But I think overall, I know the last two episodes I was pretty critical of. I feel like we're back on track with this one. Uh, that's just my own personal opinion. Obviously, I know some people were really digging the other episodes, but what I will say is that I feel like we're back on track with this particular episode, episode 9. So as I often do, I often need to just comment on how many commercials I have to watch in order to watch this show. Now I've tried watching it on TV, and you can DVR it, and but my DVR doesn't work well, so it's like it's hard to go through the commercials like that, so I end up just watching the commercials anyway cuz it's more difficult for me to hit fast forward and then hit play, but then it doesn't hit play in the right section, and then I miss stuff and I have to rewind it and fight with it. So anyway, that's a whole other thing. But like immediately it was like just I hit play and then it was just a commercial, and I'm like that's not how that's supposed to work. It's supposed to I watch a little bit, then commercial, watch a little bit, then commercial. All right, I'm just saying, the number of commercials, because how I normally watch it is on the CW app. So on the CW app, too many commercials. All right, so and hello to Christian. I mean, we'll talk about the pep talk in a second. I thought the pep talk was meh. Eh. uh, Again, as these shows mostly goes, this show specifically goes, there's a lot of characters, so we have to split the characters up into their separate storylines. So in this case, it is Jordan and Macy, Mel and Maggie, and Harry and Abigail. So that's how this episode is split up, and it's not necessarily always split up that way, because Abigail hasn't been part of the split up storylines for a bit. Well, I guess actually the last one was Jordan and Abigail. So, but Jordan's always there because he's awesome. So so hello to Xavier and David. Uh, just getting started. So essentially, yes, there were way too many commercials, David. I completely agree. So they have the tablet, and they're like, "Hey, the tablet says, what does it say? It was forged with magic, perfect for those who can move time and space." And the first thing I thought was, like Mel used to do, like she could, she could do time stuff and manipulate time. So then it made sense that like, ooh, so if she had her old powers, then maybe this would be even easier. But I'm just saying she could do that. Uh, and they didn't even like discuss that. They didn't even say something like, "Oh, you mean like how Mel could manipulate time? I wonder if we could figure out something with that." Like, no, they glossed right over it. They're like, "What does that mean?" So anyway, but Harry starts kind of trying to get Macy to talk about what happened at the Shea board. And she's, snapping at him, which it's understandable. Like essentially like everything in my list is like that's understandable. It's completely understandable. Like I feel like this episode took some of the stuff that happened in the last few episodes and was like kind of put a nice pretty bow on it, just to kind of like, yeah, hey, like Macy's not a bad person for having these feelings and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but I just felt like that needed to be said. um So there's ancient demonic language on the tablet. So so obviously Macy just starts rolling her eyes. Harry's like, "Well, we need to go and talk with Abby." And they're like, she's like, "Well, then you go." And he's like, I mean, she might even just say no because Mel did just try to vanquish her in the last episode, without proof, and really like seriously, like there should be more than just she might not help us next time, because it was really kind of terrible what happened. Hello to Arid who just showed up. Um, So anyway, I was like, okay, like honestly, I feel like she should say no. I think she shouldn't help you, and then you can see what it's like to not have the help of the person that you keep accusing of being this evil person who only helps. I'm sorry, I'll stop. So Jordan comes over, but Maggie isn't there. He runs into Macy. And Maggie was going to help him with his curse and try and like research more and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. And then he gets too close to her, and like it kind of kind of does the allergy thing, and then she snaps at him like, "You got to be more careful, Jordan." And I'm just like, "Whoa!" Like, okay, like it's one thing, like, "Hey, I don't want to talk about this really traumatic thing that happened to me, and I'm very upset about it, so stop asking me." But don't just start snapping on everybody. Like, I get it. Again, it's kind of understandable. She's still sour about it because it was a terrible thing that happened. But like, come on, like, don't take it out on Jordan. Jordan's a sweetheart. He's a great guy. Um. So anyway, we'll talk about him zapping her in a second too. That I come back to that in my notes. But anyway, so a window breaks and somebody comes in and is trying to zap Macy, but Jordan jumps in the way. And it looked like he was kind of absorbing the magic, but obviously that's not what happened. But the shot kind of looked like that. And then we get the title card. I was like, okay. So Maggie is complaining. Oh God. So we get into this episode, and Maggie is complaining about Antonio being too good for her, being too good at his job, and making her look bad because he can speak Spanish. And I think for me too, I think it's a. I felt like we were past the whole Antonio hate, so I didn't like the fact that they immediately opened with her complaining about Antonio again. So there's a specific episode, and it's the prison episode, that at this point feels like there was no growth, there was nothing happening there. Like, we learned nothing. It was completely, the cliffhanger meant nothing. Like, that was completely a, like, maybe they put the episodes out in a wrong order or something like that. Like, I don't know. There's something weird about it. It's kind of like when you watched, if you watched Firefly, for instance, on TV, when it was on TV, then you saw the episodes in a weird order, and it wasn't until it came out on DVD that you're like, you could watch them in the right order, and you're like, oh, well, that explains a lot of the stuff that was happening. And that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of how I feel about that prison episode. Anyway, that's just me. That's just me. Um, but she's complaining about him because people assume that he can speak Spanish, so they assume she can speak Spanish because she's also Hispanic. And you know what? I hear you, sister. I mean, I feel like that's the first thing that I have had in common with Maggie, is that it's really annoying because and I get, like, you're always going to understand it when you can empathize with it because it's happened to you before. But my name is Eloela Santa, and my mom can speak Spanish and my dad can speak Spanish, and I never learned how to speak Spanish. So I always have people coming out, I'm not making fun, I'm just mimicking. But like, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't speak Spanish though. So can you like, anyway, I agree with Maggie in this case. The first time I've ever agreed with her. And then Mel says that she has a conference that she's supposed to give a keynote at. And I felt like it was weird to give this keynote speech to a noob, right? Like, she's pretty new at what she's doing. They're giving her the keynote, and she even says, like, I haven't really even been there for that long. And normally keynotes are like, you give a keynote when you're like the main person who they're really going to highlight and stuff. Like, have her come out and do just like a brief, talk, and then have somebody else be the keynote, and then bring her to be the keynote next year when she's got, something under her feet. At this point, she's just the lady who got the dean fired at this point. So, uh, I agree with her that it was odd, but I like the fact that they're doing a little bit of imposter syndrome here. If anybody doesn't know what imposter syndrome is, it's essentially where you are doing something for the first time or even multiple times, like, it doesn't even matter, but you are doing it and you feel inadequate in the thing that you're going into, and you makes you feel like you're fake and you're not doing it. If you guys have noticed, I haven't actually posted anything for a couple of weeks, and it's because I actually am a musician, and I've been working on the final touches of my very first album that I'm going to be releasing. So and I just uploaded it today, so it'll be in stores in like a few weeks and all that stuff, right? But like I have extreme imposter syndrome because I have so many musician friends who've been doing it for like 20, 30 years. And I'm like, well, I mean, I've been doing it for about a year and I'm releasing my first album and they don't even have albums out. And it's like, they're all like, congratulations on getting an album out, dude. That's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I feel completely inadequate and I feel like I'm an imposter, but like then they listen to it and they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, I completely understand both of their point of views. Again, I feel like this is kind of bringing them back around and making me like them a little bit more, making me identify more with Maggie and Mel in this episode. So yeah, so and just in case anybody is posting in the chat, I'm going to do what I normally do, where I go through everything and I kind of give my thoughts, and then I'm going to hit the chat on the back end. So feel free to throw any questions or anything in there. If you definitely want me to like see it and you want to interrupt my flow, you can do the super chat thing, and then it'll pop up, and I'll be like, oh, I gotta go look at that. So I mean, that's up to you guys, but otherwise, I am going to come back around and hit it on the back end. But hello to Xavier and hello to Dicetus. Um, Dicetus. You know, when I say Dicetus, it makes me think of Darth Sidious from Star Wars. Anyway, um, where am I? Where am I here? Anyway, I completely agree with Mel, and like I'm scared as hell to release an album. I can understand why she would be like nervous as hell to stand up in front of a crowd. I've done that too. I am often a guest at conventions and stuff. So it's a thing. It's a thing. I completely understand. Stage fright is a thing. So but then they realized that Jordan and Macy aren't there, and instead they were zapped into this weird dream realm. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna jump ahead, and I'm going to just go through the entire dream realm real quick, so that I to save time, because I feel like this episode jumps around a lot, like a lot. So they get zapped to Jordan's high school. So because Jordan jumped in the way, they both got zapped in, but they went basically into Jordan's mind or his soul or whatever, and we start seeing I don't know, pretty crazy um some pretty crazy moments from his life. The first one is in high school where he's got the girlfriend who completely takes advantage of him. And again, like what they're doing a lot with Jordan is he's been kind of that perfect dude, right? He's always calm, he's always got the nice words, he's always happy. And we learn in this episode, you know, that it's kind of similar to what Mel is. I'm sorry, but it's kind of similar to what Macy's been going through, where you know, in his life, he as a black man, if he gets angry, he gets painted as the angry black man, and he doesn't necessarily have the option of getting mad. Otherwise, you get painted with that very broad brush. So, like, and I feel that. I feel that again. I identified with almost everything in this episode. So like I get that too as a black man. I'm like, oh yeah, like you have to carry yourself a certain way, especially with all of the stuff that's happening right now. Like all of this stuff is very poignant in terms of you know, what's happening right now in our society. So it's really really good. So he ends up getting zapped back. There's a girlfriend who's taking advantage of him. He like kind of sweet talks her into giving him a key, but they need two keys to leave apparently. Then they go through a door and they get zapped back to a memory of him in Afghanistan, which I was like, oh, okay. Like, and he basically has to watch someone who died die in front of him again. And basically, he's re-suffering that trauma in like the worst of ways, uh, to a point where it almost seems like he's getting sucked into the illusion, but like Macy's there, so kind of able to suck him back out. But they see a weird dude with a hat, and like they were like, "Who's that?" And like I recognized him immediately because I remember from last season, like that's his ancestor, the one that got the original curse. So they follow him through the door, and they basically go to the auditorium. Again, it's all in his mind. They go to the auditorium of the high school in his mind, and there's like a play being done, and it's of him killing that witch. So it's weird, right? So they have a fight. Um, well, and right actually right before that they have a fight. That's when Macy and Jordan kind of have their fight about why he's always calm. Which like I like how he handles himself because I've I've done it before. You have to be nice and calm and like subtle, and then you go home and then you scream about it. Like you don't get to do the get to be a normal person, when you're in public. But I also get what Macy's doing because, like, when you're in this situation, you don't have time to not express yourself. So, but like, if this was outside of this dream realm where he needed to express himself more, I'd be like, stop trying to make him be something that you think he should be. Like, maybe he's not that mad about it, or maybe he's only mildly, perturbed, like when you punched him. But anyway, they start a scene where the witch who cursed him is being killed. This is the moment that he has to step up. So he does, and he beats up his ancestor. And the witch goes, "Now you have to end it, kill him." And he goes, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Why would I? I just saw my friend die." Like even just as like I'm watching the show, and it's just like kill him, and I'm like, this is such a. I guess we're gonna go back to Star Wars again. This is like such a a Palpatine moment, Palpatine, where like yes, kill him and come over to the dark side. Like he doesn't want to be a member of the dark side. If you tell him by killing his father he will come to the dark side, then he's not going to do that. Like like don't spell it out for him. Anyway, so in this case, like yeah, he's not going to kill the dude cuz it just doesn't even make any sense. No logical sense, which is that's a whole other thing, but we'll get over there in a second. But it doesn't make logical sense for him to do that anyway. So, I think and then it brings us to kind of a scene at the end where Macy and Jordan are now friends, which I like because they kind of share their trials of being black and existing in a white world. Basically, it's a thing, and I'm all about that. Like, I think honestly, everything with Jordan and Macy was pretty well written, except for Macy being more annoyed by everything. Like she was like, I don't know, like yes, you definitely have the right to be angry and you have the right to you know not be happy all the time, but like also if you're trapped in a dream world, uh don't work your way through it and work together, don't be a jerk. So that's just me. I think my only problem with this particular thing is the fact that it took an accidental spell being cast on him for him to break his curse. Uh, I feel like Jordan's curse was such a good centerpiece kind of storyline thing where he's trying to figure out what he can do to balance the scales and whatnot. And it's just like, so going into a dream and not killing your ancestor and then that frees you of your curse. It just seems like that's really odd. Like that's a weird ending for that storyline. I thought it was going to, involve some sort of sacrifice where he was going to do something, to save the charmed ones and or something. Maybe he was going to play a crucial, role in some sort of interesting twist of fate, some destiny, or something like that. But it was like, no, I'm just going to help witches here and there until a random which zaps me with a spell that puts me into a dream, and then now I'm no longer cursed. Like, I don't know. I liked the conclusion. I, I thought it was good, but I feel like it was just not. It was too random. It was too random. I feel. Uh, so that's my thought on the whole Macy Jordan thing. Now we're going to jump out of the dream realm, and I'm going to go back to kind of going through the rest of the things. So Harry goes to Abby and she's like, "Yeah, I'll help you find the translation." And she doesn't even ask for anything in return. He's like, "Wait a minute. What are you do? Who use this? And she's like, I'm trying to do nice things. I'm trying to leave me alone. Let me help you. So you find out that there's a demon who is old and is terrifying and would have the information to translate the passage. So I'm like, okay, cool. And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna bring you there, and I'm gonna keep him from murdering you. Let's do it. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is Abby. And here's the thing. Abigail would have helped them anyway, even if she wasn't feeling guilty. She just might have also, flirted with them, or might have also asked for something in return. Like, she would have helped anyway, because that's who she is. Like, that's, even he says, like, well, I mean, she is keeping the demons at bay. Anyway, um, where am I in my notes? I'm like jumping all over the place. So yeah, so she's like, I'm turning over a new leaf, and Abby tells him that redemption is her only salvation, and she's like, she's gonna be good, and she's gonna do good things, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's follow that road, and then I'll get back to like kind of the main story. But this one gets resolved in an interesting way, I thought. So the demon is in this weird like mountain temple. Seems really nice. He says he can help depending on what they have in exchange. So Abby threatens him, but then he mind melds with them so that he knows exactly who they are. And Abby's like, "I'm gonna murder you." And the demon form, though, we learn, is fueled by rage, and he offers to teach Abigail how to keep that rage in check if she lets him return from exile. And he also agrees to go ahead and do the translation. So I was like, okay, cool. So this is an interesting thing. But Abby doesn't believe that he was able to meditate and stuff and become a good guy. And I didn't necessarily like the exchange with Abby and Harry. Well, oh no, actually, I did like it. I didn't like Harry in it, but I did like her because she's looking through his stuff and she's like, nah, nah. There's got to be a cheat here. There's no ease there. You can't just tell me that this raging demon just like, oh, just I just meditated for a long time. Now I'm a good guy. Like, no, that. I mean, she's like, no, that definitely did not happen. And I'm like, I'm kind of with you there. So one of the things too was the exchange that happened while she was looking for it, because Harry says, like, accuses her of just looking for an easy way out, just like always, he says. And she just goes, hold up here. And she accuses him of constantly using her as a shortcut, which is exactly. He's like, "Oh, you're just looking for a shortcut." And I'm like, she's like, "Oh, you mean like how I've been this whole time? Every time you guys hit a dead end, you come and ask me for help and I solve your freaking problem?" And I was just like, "You go, girl," because that's exactly what it's been. I was like, that's exactly what's been happening. It's like, oh, you're the demon overlord, and we hate you, and we think that you should be vanquished and all that stuff. But we got a problem. Can you help us? And then she always does. And oh, Abby, just like always. Like, you know what? Blow it out your butt. I'm gonna say butt. Family friendly channel. Um. Anyway. Uh, but guess what she finds? She finds a little amulet that sucks them of their emotions, and it makes them completely logical. Which I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay. So it numbs their emotions. Thus, it's a secret shortcut that the demon used. And I like the fact that she's like, I suspect I would have been thrilled by this discovery. I wish I had emotions right now. So anyway, but the thing about it is the demon's like, it's not a trick, it's a solution. I have solved my issue. I kind of dug that. Like, he's like, it's a shortcut doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily bad. Like if you're need to get downtown because of an emergency, is a shortcut a bad thing? No, it just means you got there faster. So shortcuts. I feel like shortcuts get the bad rap in pop culture. Like, everybody wants to be Naruto. Like, you know what? I was always a Sasuke guy. Well, it's cool to just be like, hey, I'm kind of naturally good at this thing. Awesome. It, you know, it sucks that Naruto had to work so hard, and he was even able to like reach those same levels as Sasuke. But you know what? Some people don't need to work all that hard. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get into Naruto here. I do love me some Naruto though. Um, but anyway, so he hands Harry a knife and says, "Kill Abby." He's like, "Kill Abby, and the translation is yours." And since they're in a logical state, I was like, oh, that's gonna make a lot of sense because no emotions are clouding judgment. So he's like, maybe I will. And even she was just like, I don't know, kind of makes sense. You should probably just kill me. I'm okay with it. I was like, it was very unsurprised. It was very surprised. Unexpected. I did not expect it. Um, yeah. So, but then he's like, nah, because you're just going to use this logic to trick demons into doing really bad things. So, how about this? Give me the translation, and we're just going to teleport away. And I feel like just teleporting away. That guy's going to come back into play at some point. Yeah, I don't see that guy going away. Like, he was exiled from demon society, but not exiled, like he's not banished. Like, he can come back. Like, physically he could come back. So I doubt that it's going to be anything like he just definitely can't come back or anything. So he's definitely he's going to be a bad guy. So okay, so where am I here? So okay, so that's Macy and Jordan. Where am I? uh Yeah, no. So they take the translation and they blink away. And then Harry's like, hey, thank you. And she's like, yeah, oh, it's pretty cool. Yeah, good. And, you know, she keeps trying to get him to stay. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and go because I still don't like you and I still don't trust you. And I'm just like, oh, whatever, guys. Find new friends. Find new friends. I just hate it so much. Um, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the end of that. And he goes like, "There's no shortcuts to redemption." It's just like, whatever. Stop. So that was something somebody said it, and I don't remember who it was. They were like, "I really liked the talking to that Harry did to Abby," and I'm just like, "Nah." Abby has already identified. Like, here's the thing: if I have already identified that I have a problem, if let's say my tire is out, right? Let's say like I get a flat tire on the highway, it does not do me any good for you to stop and say, "Hey, your tire's flat. You should probably fix that." And it's going to be hard to fix that. Like, that doesn't help anybody, right? Like, that's how I kind of feel about it. It's just like, okay, fine. Maybe you had to beat it over her head for her to like decide to go the good route, but now she's doing that. So stop beating her up. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Um, I mean, that's how I see it anyway. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. Let's go to the next thing. Um, so the big storyline though is that the witch that zapped Macy and Jordan was actually their cousin, and I was like, what? I mean, we already kind of knew that she was coming into the show and stuff, but I was very curious as to how they were going to do it. I talked about it in a recent review that I had done, where I was like, hey, um, it seems weird that like they don't have any family, because I come from a Hispanic family and I don't even talk to that side of my family all that much, but I know that I have like 7 aunts and uncles and like a million cousins, and like it just seems weird because and I know it's not every family and whatnot. There's a little bit of stereotyping in there, but I know from being part of that type of family that it is very common for there to be lots of cousins and stuff. So I was always curious about that. And now in this episode, we find out why they were never exposed to some of their family, which I thought was really, really cool. So I felt like this was good. Like, this was stuff that we needed to know. So we find Josefina, who is rummaging through the books, and let's see. Oh, and okay, so yeah, so they're rummaging through the books and stuff, and then this is where I'm gonna make another note about this thing. So the whole thing about um how close they can get to each other without it zapping them. I did not like this, and it seems to be very inconsistent because Jordan came like a couple of feet within Macy and zapped her, and I'm like, okay, well, that's weird because when we get to this scene where Mel and Maggie are standing in the doorway, like this far away from each other, like how are they not zapping each other? It just seemed very, very like they're very inconsistent with their staging in the show when it comes to that allergy. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out because for me it was a big deal. But we find out that it's their cousin Josefina. But like I was like, she's attacking them, and I don't quite trust her yet. We'll see what ends up happening. But at this point, like, she's nice, she's a good addition. Let's see. But she tells them a different story than what they know. What they know is that Marisol, got a scholarship and she came to America and she did all the fun stuff and she just never really talked to her family. But like, Josefina's like, no, Marisol abandoned her family in Puerto Rico and stole their book of shadows. And this book of shadows belongs to my family. And I was like, oh shit. So she's their second cousin. And I was like, that's interesting. And they explained that the book of shadows was destroyed. And she's just like, that sounds like a you problem. You better give me my book. You better give me my book, or I'm not gonna let Jordan and Macy go. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't cool. So, um, like, the bag starts getting hot that she had them inside, and she's just like, I mean, this shouldn't be happening unless somebody inside is cursed. And I'm like, oh god. And then they start like, how can you can't just do a spell on somebody and you not know? And this was the thing too. So we find out that she uses brujelia, which is like, they're like, oh, that sounds like that's dark magic. And she's like, look, it was deemed dark magic by Western magic because it was not their magic, but it's the basis of the same thing, and there's no issue. Like, leave it alone. So I was like, okay, that made a lot of sense to me. And I like the fact, because I think we've talked about that on this channel before too, is that they needed to start kind of bringing in different types of magic and stuff like that. And I was like, yes, I like the fact that they're bringing in brujelia. So far we've had witchcraft, necromancy, and now brujelia. I don't believe that there's, I mean, demonic powers too, but I don't think there's any other types of magic that have come into play so far. Doesn't mean that they won't. But I thought it was pretty cool. But she tells the story, Josefina does, of how she's like, look, I can do magic. I was, born a male, but now I'm trans, and they don't believe me that I'm going to get my magic. So I need that book of shadows so that I can get my magic and prove to my family that I am a woman. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. That's a good storyline. I really like this character. So then so when the bag starts getting hot, I just want to say this. The bag starts getting hot, and she says, Mel says, we need ice. And Josefina's like, I'll go get ice. And I'm like, you have ice powers, Mel. What is wrong with you? Just be like, and there's some ice. Just do that. Come on. So I thought that was really, really dumb. They do it later on. They have her using her powers, like when the bag gets super duper hot, she's using her powers on it. And I'm like, that should have been number one. Like, again, like, use your power. They need to use their powers more casually. There was no power usage except for this when the bag got really bad and she started using her ice powers. There were no other power usage in this episode. And Macy had the excuse of being in dream world where her magic didn't work. I get that. Her powers didn't work. But the other ones, come on. Like, come on. It just doesn't even make any sense. Use the powers, people. I'm just saying. So they go to the command center. Okay, so they go to the command center. Where am I here? And they decide that they need to combine their magic. So they combine the witchcraft with the brujelia, and they're able to keep the bag cool enough while Jordan and Macy find a way to escape. And then that's pretty much what happens. And I like the fact that Maggie and Mel were already having these kind of discussions about imposter syndrome on a professional basis, like a social basis, and then they kind of connect with Josefina, with her kind of having, as a trans person, that kind of imposter syndrome, because everybody tells her, if you're born a male, then you can't be a woman, and it makes her feel like she's not actually a woman, even though she is. So it's like, yes, I get that. And I liked how they kind of linked it all together. I really kind of dug that. I think they did a good job in this episode. Just kind of overall, I think that this episode was just really, really well written. So when they get done, Josefina's like, I'm gonna go home. And they're like, no, you should totally stay. She's like, I don't want to be a pain in the butt burden or anything. And I'm like, you're not gonna be a burden, but you are gonna be yet another character that we now need to write storylines for. So that is something. However, isn't it interesting that we have now concluded Jordan's curse storyline, and now we have a brand new character who's going to now bring in more different storylines. So I feel like they better not, because I'm going to be mad about it. But Jordan better not be going away to make room for Josefina. Not that I think Josefina is a bad character, but I love me some Jordan. So, so I'm really, really so I'm really, really hoping that they're not getting rid of Jordan. I'm also, I mean, I guess now they can move forward with the Jordan Maggie storyline because now that his curse is gone, he can touch the witches. Um, I don't know how I feel about that because I don't really want them to get together. But maybe now that Jordan is free of his curse, he's just going to be like, you know what? I don't even need to hang out with you guys anymore because I was hanging out with you guys so that I could be like, hey, like I'm here to help witches. You're witches, so I'm here to help you. Now that he's not cursed, like he can go do anything with his life that he wants to go. I mean, so in that case, from a I guess from a story standpoint, I guess I'd be okay with Jordan leaving for better life if he then kind of made occasional guest star appearances as as we went on. Uh, but I really do kind of want him to stay around. That's just me. So yeah, so then they translate using the demon translation. They have the stone there. They read the translation. It unlocks the tablet, starts glowing and stuff, and then it unlocks this weird kind of giant demon door or something. It starts raining scorpions, and they're like, "Oh no, what if we unleashed? We have unleashed chaos." And I'm like, I mean, okay, yeah, but remember the last cliffhanger episode that they gave us where there was a demon outside their door and then that's it and then nothing and then they were just like yeah, hey, actually they didn't even mention it at all. I forgot they didn't even mention it at all. They just moved on, but they left us with a cliffhanger. So honestly it kind of feels like that again. So I'm not even if I hadn't been burned already once, that was a great ending. But since I've been burned, like I feel like they're gonna start the next episode off with like, "Hey, remember how we got rid of those scorpions? Yeah, Josefina cast a spell and then it did a thing, and then there you go." And it's just like, yeah, like I don't know. I hope that they address it in the right way. Um, but like I said, I've already been burned once with a really kind of cool cliffhanger, and then they did nothing with that. So that is episode 9. And again, just off the top of my head, really enjoyed it. I thought all of the characters were really well handled, really well written. All of the sensitive subject matter was handled in a great way, which is unlike the last 2 episodes. I felt like there was really good conclusions to storylines in this episode. I felt like all of the characters, all of the actors acted their butts off in this episode. I feel like this one brought it together, is what I'm saying. So overall, this was a fine episode and it got me back excited. Honestly, I was kind of like, oh, that's why I didn't even watch the episode until today. Normally, I'm watching it every Sunday. But the last 2 episodes, it really left a bad taste in my mouth. So I was like, I guess I'll watch it eventually. Bleh. And I watched it today and I was like, hey, that's a damn good episode. So you know what? You guys got me back. I'm back. It's all good. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go through the chat now. If you have questions, comments, or whatever, make sure to throw them in there. The chat does sometimes jump around, so I'm gonna hit as many of these as I can. We'll see what happens. So yes, so let's see. So managed to make a live stream. Yes, great to see you, by the way. Not only are there too many commercials on the CW app, but they always play the same ones over and over again. Yeah, I guess if it was different commercials, I would be less annoyed, but also probably just as annoyed. Yes, King Jordan, exactly. All right, so let's see. What happened to the Aloy the Saint stream? So, my players, I was running a game on my other channel, role-playing game, a game called Part-Time Gods that I wrote. And honestly, one of my players had to drop because of scheduling stuff, and then one of my other players is a teacher and started having some regular things happening on Wednesday evenings at her school. So, we basically have just put that game on hold for a bit. So, we might come back to it or I might start a brand new game. We'll see what happens, but yes, I apologize. It was kind of abrupt. I'll start posting some other things over there. Let's see. So I love where Arid. Select that. There you go. I love the episode. We got to learn more about their family, and we got to learn more about the history of magic in the Charmed Reboot universe. Exactly. I think that was part of it too. There's so much of it that we're just like we just kind of assume about their past and their upbringing, which is why like I still want to know more about Macy's upbringing and her life before coming to meet with her sisters and stuff. But I think that this was a great glimpse into Marisol and learning more about their family history. I thought it was really, really good. Gonna buy your album straight away as soon as you release it. Oh, thank you. What I'm doing right now is I just uploaded the music, so it's being put in stores and stuff now. So after it's in stores, I think I'm leaving about a month for pre-orders, and then it will actually be out. So in about 2 weeks you'll be able to pre-order it, and by pre-ordering it, you'll get like one of the songs because it sucks to pre-order something and not get anything. So I'll have one of the songs available. So um, yes. So I guess if anybody wants to follow me, because I'll be posting stuff on another channel. The name of the band is called Strays of the World. You can go find that. Just type in Strays of the World into YouTube, and I have a channel there. I also have a Facebook stuff, and I have to build a website and stuff that's coming. So I'm doing stuff. It's got things happening. Let's see. So I think they should do a self-reflecting on how they've been treating Abby because Abby has helped them so much in the past. Yes, and that's what I was saying. Like I actually really dug that she pushed back against Harry when Harry was just like, "Oh, you're just looking for the." It's like I have been your shortcut. Every time they can't solve something, they go ask Abby, and Abby solves the hell out of that thing for them. And it might not be in the way they want, and they might have to do a favor for her later on, but she solves their issue. So it's just weird. Um, so yeah, so let's see. Yep, it hits home about the need to be perfect or excellent when you're black or biracial. Exactly. I thought that they really did it really well. As always, the curse thing was too easy and out of the blue. Yeah, it just was. I mean, honestly, the curse thing came out of the blue as a storyline in the first place, and then they just let it meander there. Like they didn't do anything with it for a while. And then now, again, it just seems weird for it to be solved by a fluke. Like their cousin came to town and cast a spell which kind of put him into a dream realm where he's able to get rid of the curse. And I'm just like, but he rebalanced the scales by not killing an imaginary version of his ancestor. Like what? What? Like he didn't really help a witch. He helped a witch in his mind. I don't know. I really liked the episode. I even liked that part of it. It just was very sudden and doesn't necessarily make that much sense. So I'm sorry. I'll stop. Um, let's see. I agree about Jordan's curse, but I'm excited to see what they will do now. Yes, exactly. I'm excited to see where he goes now. Um, the old demon guy could totally have killed her himself. So here's the thing about that, and he even said it. Demons, demons who kill other demons are usually despised. My problem with that idea is that who's gonna tell them? Like it's not like when a demon kills a demon, like they have a mark on their soul that every other demon can see or something. Like it's just them there. He could totally kill her and Harry. But he also, well, I don't know, it's weird. Wait, how was that going to work? Because he needed the demon overlord's permission to come back. But if he kills the demon overlord, then he doesn't necessarily get the approval to come back. So he could kill her, but then he wouldn't be able to come back. But if somebody else killed her, he still is banished. So I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. All right. So that is illogical now. Thank you for pointing that out. How did Harry teleport with Abigail if he can't touch her? He can touch her. He chose not to touch her. Um, the only people who can't touch people are the charmed ones. They are the ones with the allergy. No one else has the allergy. Let's see. I just don't like how the writers are just basically using Macy as the BLM face. I appreciate it and do love the storylines, but I feel like apart from her trying to get back with Harry, which don't get me wrong, I love Hasty, but ever since they took Macy demon powers away to give to Abby, I feel like the writers treat Macy character the worst. Uh also I'm starting to like Abby, but there there she goes again trying to flirt with Harry. I was so freaking annoyed by that. Like, geez, can Macy have anything without it being taken away from her? Um, all right, so that was a lot. So what I'll say is uh one, I think this is the problem with a lot of the stuff is when it comes to race, is that if it might appear like they are using her as the face of Black Lives Matter, but really what they are doing is they are illustrating something that happens to a lot of Black people, and we don't always talk about it. And it's those experiences. The interesting thing about it happening to someone like Macy is that she is in a position of power. She is highly educated. She has magical powers. She fights bad guys all the time. She has lots of money. She is one of the charmed ones. She has all of these privileges. But because she is Black, it can always be reduced down to that. That is why it is important for someone like Macy to be the one going through something like this in the story. Because there are so many people who feel like, oh, well, if you're Black and successful, then it can't ever happen to you. And it's just like, well, no. Have you ever heard the story from Chris Rock when he got pulled over and how scared he was until the police realized that he was Chris Rock? It's that sort of thing. It doesn't matter how famous or powerful or rich or whatever you are. If you're Black, you have to fight that stigma. And I actually feel like it was important for them to address that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, who else were they gonna have be the face in the show? She's kind of the only, like, black person on the show, because I know that Maggie is part Black, but also she doesn't look Black, which is what a lot of racism is how you look. So I don't see her as the face of BLM. I feel like they are telling an authentic story, using this character, who has a lot of privilege, but showing you that no matter how much privilege you have, you can still be subject to systemic racism and, obviously actual racist people. So there's that. Yes, she's trying to get back with Harry. A lot of her storyline has revolved around her personal struggle with not being able to be close to the person that she loves after fighting for 2 seasons to try and be with him. Um, and she's frustrated because she can't figure out this thing. Like, remember, she's a scientist. She's all about figuring things out, and nothing that she can do has been able to solve this thing. So there's a lot of frustration in there. But I honestly feel like a lot of her storyline is also her trying to get along with people and trying to learn more about her family and her other sisters and stuff like that. And then, just like, and I talked about it too, there's a show called Woke on Hulu, which is very similar to this. And, when something like that happens to you, it can destroy your outlook on life if you let it. So, um, there you go. I mean, that's just how that happens. So there you go. Um, Abby flirting with Harry, Abby flirts with everybody. And honestly, I think Abby just didn't want to be by herself. Like, she was trying to get him to stay, and asking him to stay didn't work, so she was trying to flirt with him to get him to stay. And it wasn't necessarily that she even wants him, because I don't think that that's a tree that she's barking up anymore. At this point, it's more about her feeling alone in her redemption arc, and she doesn't want to be. Like, she wants help. And again, if I have a flat tire on the side of the road, it does no good for you to pull over and tell me I have a flat tire. I know that I have a flat tire. Do you want to help me with my flat tire? If not, go away. Stop coming and bothering me. And while I have my flat tire, you're going to come and ask me, "Well, could I borrow your crowbar?" Like, you know what? No. I need to work on this flat tire. Anyway, thank you for your comments, Erica. I do, I, I do disagree with you, but I also understand where you're coming from. So there you go. I'm sorry, I don't like the actress playing Josefina. She had some kind of smirk all the time, even when the character was supposed to be serious. Some people just got that face. I honestly didn't notice that. I don't know. I thought everybody in this episode acted their butts off. And the writing was good. So I thought it was really good. Am I the only one wondering what's going on with the ancient demons running around that have been referred to for a while. Um, no, again, I feel like the prison episode was aired out of order. That's how I feel about this because I feel like uh, the cliffhanger that didn't lead to anything. Um, I don't know. I feel like all of there was just a ton that I feel like in that episode that meant nothing. It felt like a filler episode. I said in my review of that episode, and it turns out it really was, but it was a filler episode that kept you thinking something was going to happen and then nothing happened. So all those ancient demons running around, I guess that never happened. I don't know. That's it's a hard one. It's a hard one. So it did just mess around. So just so you know, let's see. Where am I here? I needed to go back here. Did Macy and Harry start the apocalypse? Maybe, but it'll be like an episode of Buffy. It'll just be like, remember that apocalypse we stopped yesterday? And it'll just all be totally off screen. I hope not. I want to see what happens. I want a continuous stories. What do I think Josefina's power will be? I mean, it's a good question. I don't think I know enough about her personality and stuff because I feel like a lot of it is like you get powers that relate to like the kind of person that you are. So I don't know. I don't know much about her. Ask me next episode, maybe if we get a little bit more storyline with her, and we'll see. It would be cool if she got like a Karnak kind of power, Karnak from the Inhumans, where like she can see the flaws in things. Like I think that would be a really cool power. Uh, anyway, or I had said that Mel should get force fields, maybe give Josefina force fields. I don't know. Who even knows if she'll get powers because there's no Book of Shadows. So how is she going to get powers? I don't know. But I mean, to introduce that as a storyline means they're probably going to resolve that storyline, which would mean that she would get powers at some point. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Where's the house located? Can it be map quested? How did Josefina, I keep saying Josephine, Josefina find it? Um, well, I mean, I guess, well, here's an interesting thing. The house, I believe I don't even know where it is. I think it's still in Seattle. I don't think that they said that it moved again. They didn't go back home. What I'll say, I guess, is that as soon as they were no longer dead and they had addresses, you can just Google that person and find out where the address is. She could have easily done some private detective work and done something like found out that Macy owned safe space, found Macy there, and followed Macy back home, and then knew then where she lived. I mean, there's like we can ask a bunch of questions and see like if there's plot holes or whatever, but like there's like some really basic things. Like if you've ever watched an episode of like Catfish or something, like they like legitimately just use social media and stuff to find people, and it's not that hard. All of our information is on the internet for anybody to find nowadays. So Um, do I think that we'll get a Marisol flashback? I hope so. I like the actress who plays Marisol, so I'd like to see her in something. Let's see. Do we think we'll get any Abigail flashbacks? A lot of her backstory has been exposition heavy. Tell don't show. Well, yeah, true. It has been a tell. It's been a little bit tell don't show, but I understand that aspect because it's a side character. Um, if she became somehow the main character, then sure, yeah, I mean, she would kind of need some, but I feel like they've already been backing away from Abby in this season, and they haven't really been giving her as much screen time as they did in the second season. So I think that they are relegating her to side character, which means we don't need to see all of her background. I think that the moment that we get background, like we get like flashbacks, will be right before she's no longer going to be on the show. Like we're going to find out about her, and she's going to get her whole like redemption arc, and we're going to finally understand her, and then something's going to happen where she's going to leave the show. So if you see a flashback, that is when she is no longer on the show. That I'm calling it now. We'll see if I'm right if they ever do it. We'll see if I'm right. Let's see. Most importantly, trans characters being played by trans actors. First one we witnessed transphobia storyline, and second, gender identity conflicted with witch heritage. Which I kind of the second one is kind of I kind of knew that that's where they were going to go when they were like, oh, we're going to bring in a trans character to be their cousin. I'm like, so it's going to be a trans woman who's like, I'm a witch. But I wasn't born a woman, so how is this gonna work? And I dig the storyline, actually. I really do dig it. Let's see. Is it just me, or does anyone want to see Godric? I always want to see Godric. If you watch my ethics and morals in the world of Charmed, I use Godric as like a really good example of a demon. So anyway, I love Godric. I would love to have less Hasty and more Godric. But again, that's more stories, more storylines, more characters that they have to tell. I like how it's a little bit more focused right now. And I think that they have to resolve some storylines before they're able to start opening up other ones. So I'm fine with them not using Godric right now. And honestly, the idea that I think we had discussed it a few episodes ago was that probably Godric's not around, because Godric was the demon overlord, and then we flash forward 3 months, and now Abigail is the demon overlord again, and she hasn't mentioned Godric once, which probably means she had to kill Godric to get the title back. That would just be my guess. We'll see. We'll see. Um, where are we? Oh, it just jumped around. Okay, I'm gonna jump down to the bottom because it just jumped around. Um, when are the TOC monsters going to show up? You know what? It's crazy. I'm a writer, so anytime I see TOC, I always think table of contents. I assume you mean the Tomb of, what was it? Tomb of Chaos or something? All right, so I got you. Um, never. I don't know. They released 14 of them, or 42, what we said? No, it was 14. They released 14 of them, and then there was a cliffhanger, and then there weren't any more. There you go. So who knows? I'm hoping next episode, maybe this thing of getting the tablet together is now going to call them to the house, and then they're gonna have to fight, and it's gonna be amazing. We'll see. Let's see. So am I the only one who is missing the outlying threats to the magical community, like the demon faction surfacing after Abby's forced exile, Godric's own forces attacking them? You're not the only one. I thought that this season was going to end up revolving around the witch demon war, and it just didn't end up doing that. They ended up introducing a brand new storyline. But I think it could be, see this, but this is rife for something like these horrible demons from prehistory are back, and now it's time for demons and witches to combine forces to fight this threat that they neither side could defeat by themselves. Like, I think that that would be an awesome storyline. That does not appear to be the direction that they are going, but it's like Godzilla and Kong. That's how it goes. Let's see. I didn't like the fact that all the sisters didn't share 1 second in the same room. That's true, actually. They were separated from the get go, and they never got to see each other again. And that could be a scheduling thing. Maybe one of them got COVID. Who knows? Maybe Jordan and maybe Jordan and Macy had COVID, and they're like, "We're just gonna shoot you two by yourselves." And then I don't know. Who knows? I hope that they don't have COVID. I'm sorry. I should probably not talk lightly about that sort of thing. Any updates on Welcome to America? This is the wrong channel for that. But hey, Welcome to America is going to be the new Prince album. I'll go ahead and talk about it right now. So if you haven't pre-ordered it, go pre-order it. It's pretty amazing, the new Prince album. They already released a track, and they talked about it on 60 Minutes the other day, where they were sharing other tracks. And this is not that channel. I have a Prince channel on YouTube as well, where I talk a lot about Prince, and Xavier is obviously likes that channel as well. So thank you, Xavier, for that. Welcome to America is going to be awesome, I guess, is all I'll say. Moving on. They should give her shape-shifting powers. Nah, I think that's a little on the nose, and I think it undercuts the struggle of being trans and having that be an important part of the character. It's kind of like, because if I was born male, but I'm actually a woman, then I'd be like, well, if I have shape-shifting powers, I'll just turn myself to be a woman, you know. and it's just like, but then that erases that erases the story and the struggle and everything that has to do with being trans. Like, you're trans, like that's part of you, so I don't know, it's a weird thing. I would say that it would be in poor taste for them to do that. Now, if it was shapeshifting like animals and stuff, yeah, sure. But I also don't see how. Again, I don't know much about her personality and stuff, so I have to learn more about her before I would be able to be like, this is the kind of power that she should have because it's based on her personality and stuff. So anyway, there you go. Yeah, it's the wrong channel, but you know what? It's fine. I answered questions about my other channel earlier. I talked about my band already. It's fine. It's fine. Let's see. The turnout. I know that Abigail's going through a lot right now, dealing with her own self-harming demon side, but these entitled charmed ones and arrogant yet clingy white lighter because seriously, I swear to God, if my baby Jordan is the next one to get hurt by Maggie by pulling the Mama Vera, I'ma lose it. Don't lead my man on. I agree, but I also think that, again, now that he can touch the witches, or he's no longer cursed, so that allergy doesn't do anything. I mean, it's about time. I feel like the writers are setting it up for them to go with the Maggie Jordan Morden. Is it Morden or is it Jaggy? I know some people are. I know there's two different versions. So it's setting it up for them to go in that direction. I don't want them to do it, so whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, the charmed ones are entitled, but they're the charmed ones too. It's in the name. They are charmed. Like, they lived a charmed life. Like, they get all the privileges and whatnot, and all the other witches have to like fight for burial grounds. So so anyway, I think I'm gonna call it there. We have been here for an hour, and I need to go pick up my son from school. So, with all of that said, don't forget to hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, all that stuff. I'll be back tomorrow doing another live stream, and I'm going to talk about the latest Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm excited about that. I just didn't get around to. I was going to try and do two today, and it just didn't happen. But I'm going to jump on tomorrow, and I'll hit you with the 1-2 punch of the Falcon thing. I have a couple of other videos and stuff that I really want to do. I've been kind of transitioning to doing more live streams on this channel. I don't know if you guys are enjoying that, or if you guys prefer the pre-recorded and edited stuff. I can obviously do either, but I find that it's a lot of fun to come here and do live streams and have you guys be here with me and conversing and stuff. I guess the bad thing is that when I'm discussing Charmed, I get lots of people here, and when I'm not discussing Charmed, I get fewer people. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell. And put it to all notifications. And the next time that I pop on live, even if it's not about Charmed, come talk with me. And like I said, it'll definitely help my numbers. It'll help my channel grow a little bit more, and I appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. I love you guys all. I've been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up.